What are the origins of French-Canadian genealogy? In this second episode of my interview with Peter Gagne, he provides us with a look at the physical evidence of its origins. He also gives us more information about the Quebec Seminary, where he works. I started this segment of my discussion with Peter by asking him about the location of the Quebec Seminary and about its archives.
So the seminary is located actually at the top of the windy hill that connects the lower town to the upper town. And the archives are in a building called the Jérôme Demers Pavilion, which is the old seminary museum. And it was also changed the name to the Musée de l'Amérique Française, the Museum of French America. So since 1995, the Museum of Civilization has managed the archives, library, and the collections of the Quebec City Seminary. And for the last 17 years, I've been the reference archivist at the museum, primarily using the archives of the Quebec City Seminary. So as you can see here on my laptop, this is the road leading from the lower town to the upper town. We have the Chateau Frontenac here, and directly above that and at the end of the street, you can see the square there, which is the seminary complex. So this whole part here is the old seminary, and right here is the old Laval University building. So when we zoom in, you can see the seminary site here. We are actually in this building, which is the old museum, and you see here the old courtyard. There you can see the trace of the Louis Hébert's house, which was the first minor seminary. And the circle there shows where Louis Hébert's well was located. While the building was previously a museum, it was originally the dormitory for Laval University, which is directly next door, not even 10 feet away. It was built in the 1860s, and actually the offices of my colleagues are the old dorm rooms, the old bedrooms of the students. In the reading room, the room that we're in right now, was the old chapel for the students. So the building that we're in now, where I work, actually houses the archives of the seminary, the library of the seminary, and various special collections like the engravings, works of art on paper, like different watercolors, as well as the seminary's collection of stamps and numismatics, coins and metals. You can see my desk is in the middle of the reading room. It is actually in the middle of the art catalog, which is still used today. We do have a database of it, but the card catalog is really used for cross-references for different name variations. What the reading room doesn't have, one would grant, is doesn't have any windows. The original windows of the chapel were brick, did not allow any light in previously for the museum exhibits. In addition to my desk, there's also the tables and chairs for the researchers. So the archives are actually open to the public. Anybody can come by appointment only during the operating hours. And you can actually go on our website, mcq.org. There is a version of the database online. A lot of the early documents, especially the New France documents, are digitized. And if you're in Quebec City, you can make an appointment ahead of time and come consult any documents you want.
What other connections to French-Canadian genealogy can we find at the archive?
After I first started working in the archives here, I would go to the vault to get different documents, and at the far end of the vault, against the wall, there were about 7 cabinets like this. And since I was new, I didn't dare open them. And you can see there's a lock. I didn't know if there was a key or not. But after a few months, my curiosity got the better of me. I opened it up, and as you can see, there are several pigeonholes here. The documents inside them have since been removed. But what was in there actually literally took my breath away and let out a gasp, because it was something that was really fundamental to French-Canadian genealogy. So what I realized right away is that it also says Dictionnaire Genealogique, Genealogical Dictionary, and it has a set of names in it. And the reason why I let out a gasp is because I realized that these were the original index cards used for the Tanguay genealogical. So the original paper cards were just directly into these holders. But since the museum has taken over them, we've really redone what they call the preventive conservation, to keep it in pH-neutral materials for safekeeping for years to come. So these are actually Tanguay's notes that he took on each of the families, and his ink must have ran in his pen because, as you can see, there are fingerprints on many of the cards. So if you're familiar with the Tanguay dictionary, these cards are basically each individual entry in the dictionary. You have a couple at the top, you have the husband, the wife, and the marriage date, and then below you have each of their children. And this one is continued on the second card. This one is a marriage from 1667. Cyprien Gay was a priest. He actually studied at the seminary, and he's buried in the seminary chapel. He had been a priest at different parishes, actually founded the secondary school in Rimouski, the collège. But what he's mostly known for is the Genealogical Dictionary. And for that, he's considered the father of French-Canadian genealogy, one of the pioneers. In 1665, he was actually hired by the federal government of Canada for the Minister of Agriculture, Immigration, and Statistics to compile the family statistics, the demographic statistics of the country dating back to the early days. How he did that is go around all the different parishes all over Quebec, North America, in the French-speaking parts of Ontario, in New England, even in Europe. And he went in the actual registers and took down the notes. And those are the notes that were housed in these various cabinets. We have a very well-worn copy of the Tanguay Dictionary. And the official name is the Genealogical Dictionary of Canadian Families from the foundation of the colony until today. Tanguay was hired in 1865, went around for about 5 years, and the first volume of the dictionary was published in 1871. There were 7 volumes in total published starting in 1871 and ending in 1890. These individual packets, which were originally in the cabinets, have been laid into handmade different trays with the different compartments. In the original materials that they were in, they were originally just directly into these holders, but the museum techs have made these nice non-acid holders to preserve them for years to come. So those cabinets, all those 7 cabinets with all those pigeonholes, actually contained hundreds of capsules like this.
Thank you, Peter, for that fascinating look at the origins of French-Canadian genealogy, housed at your workplace at the archives at the Seminary of Quebec.